So you've got someone in your team who needs to hear something that might be hard to hear. And every time you've tried, they either get defensive, they might shut down, or even argue, and the conversation goes nowhere. So you started avoiding it. So this video is about how to give someone feedback who gets defensive and why the defensiveness probably isn't the real problem. We all get defensive from time to time. Defensiveness is not a character flaw in the other person. It's a predictable response to feeling threatened. And most of the time, the threat is built into how the feedback's actually delivered, not to the feedback itself. I often say people become defensive about why you're saying something more so than what you're saying. So the good news is that you can actually change the way that you're delivering the feedback so that the person understands the feedback and where you're coming from more clearly. So let's talk about this threat response that people experience. The moment that someone feels judged, their brain treats that like danger. So their brain stops processing the words that you're actually speaking and they go into defensive mode. So when you sit someone down and lead with what they're doing wrong, you trigger that exact state that makes feedback impossible to absorb. You're trying to teach someone at that precise moment, but you've made them unable to learn or absorb what you're actually asking of them. So let me give you an example. A manager is having a conversation with a direct report. The direct report's really sharp, they're capable, but they consistently are late on their deliverables, which then impacts and has a flow-on effect to the rest of the team. So every time the manager raises it, the same thing happens. The direct report would explain, justify, point to everyone else's delays, and get visibly tense. So the manager just starts thinking the person can't actually take feedback on board. So when we unpack the conversation that the managers actually had, they're starting with the problem. Before even a fact has been established, they're raising a problem and a pattern. And of course, the person goes into defense mode. So what would be more helpful is actually asking for permission and sharing your intention with the person, because this would relieve by asking for permission and sharing your intention before you launch into the actual feedback. You're giving the person the opportunity to say yes to actually having a conversation about feedback. So it could look something like this. Hey, do you have a second for a chat? I'd like to talk about our recent deliverable. Is now a good time? So it's very non-judgmental, it's very neutral, and the person's more likely to respond with a yes. Then when you actually move into the feedback itself, you talk about the pattern that you're observed. I've noticed the last 3 deliverables across the team, we haven't hit the deadline. Then sharing the impact of that. Impact is that when we don't hit the deadline, the flow-on effect to other teams. They're actually asking a curious question, so you're actually bringing the person into the conversation. What have you noticed that's happening? What do you think's got in the way of us hitting that deadline? So you're actually giving them the opportunity to have a conversation. So they might respond, I've been waiting on data from the other team and it's come to me late. But you're actually working through, well, what can we learn from this for next time? It's actually a really fixable problem and you can actually work through and learn from it. So treat feedback as an opportunity for someone to learn. Try and remove the attack or the sense of someone feeling attacked as well. And be open and curious to understanding their perspectives so you can actually learn and work through some next steps together. But if someone in your team is always defensive when you try to have a conversation, call out that behavior as well. I recommend having a conversation to say, hey, I noticed when I try to give you feedback, you seem to be defensive. How would you like to receive feedback going forward so that you can get their perspective? Also be open to receiving feedback. I'd love to get feedback from you too. This is how I like to receive feedback. Being able to take feedback on board as a leader is really important to role model the skill so that your teams are also more likely to be able to take feedback on board as well. Feedback is a really strong marker of a high-performing team. If you feel like you need some more help learning the skills to give feedback effectively, I've written a book called Thriving Leaders, Learn the Skills to Lead Confidently. Chapter 3 is on feedback, where we give you a couple of feedback models that are really helpful, including some tips, so then you can practice this with your team. This is both for positive feedback, but also constructive feedback. The link is below. Good luck with giving feedback next time.